Hi, it's Chris Titley here as part of the Scoreboard podcast. I'm joined by Alice Williams. Alice, thank you so much for coming in and being part of the Scoreboard.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
2024. We're sitting here in 98% humidity in Brisbane.
Yep.
It is ridiculous. It should rain. If it doesn't rain, then we're all going to sweat it out. But we're in December, which is, this is a long-winded intro. How has your 2024 been?
It has been exciting, overwhelming, stressful. Those are just a few of the ones that come to mind.
Right. And those three words, do you want to go one by one?
Sure. Exciting because my first Olympics was the Paris Olympics, and that was crazy. And we obviously won silver, so very exciting. At the same time, though, I think to speak to stressful and overwhelming, the 8 months prior, the 2 years prior, has been go, go, go the whole time. And, you know, you're vying for a spot on a team that only has 13 spots, and we've got veterans in our team. So I really had to try very, very hard to find my spot. So that was stressful and very overwhelming at times.
And overwhelming, I take it from, let's talk about Paris.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the whole tournament leading up to, obviously, the gold medal match. But you're the third stinger that I've interviewed, and this team just brings out more stories. It brings out just an amazing group of individuals through the Olympics. Do you want to talk about your experience in Paris?
Yeah, I think because it was my first, I know you've interviewed Gabby and Ellie and it was their second. It being my first, I had no idea really what to expect. We went through a lot of scenarios as a team and they prepared us as best as they could. But I don't think anything even comes close based on my experience. Because you walk in and it's like, bang, there are people everywhere and every single one of them is the best in their sport in their country. Some of them are famous, like, you know, Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal. They're all like...
You just hanging with them, hanging with the crew, right?
I couldn't, because I'd get so overwhelmed. Like, I'd get so, like, anxious, and I think you really have to put all of your energy into what you need to. So for me, meeting those people, like my idols, it would have really drained me because I would have been so excited. I would have been unfocused and tired for my games or my reviews or anything.
Did Novak sort of, you know, give you a bit of a, like, hello, and you just, like, blanked him like, nah, I'm in the zone. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
no time for selfies.
Crossed paths, and I was like, no, I'm not going to get a photo with you.
Sorry.
Stop asking.
Yeah. So you were just, like, in the rhythm, like, yes, I get there's some world champions, famous people here, but no, they're not going to, I'm going to stop. Stop.
And I think for us, for most of our meals, we were actually still in the Oz Tower. We didn't really go to the dining hall that was for everyone. Mainly for dinners, we would go there. But when I did, it was just like a melting pot of emotion, because I would see like famous sprinters that I just watched on the Netflix series, and I was like, oh my God, like, you're so cool. And then like Ilona Maher would be there, and I was like, oh my God, all these amazing people and athletes. So yeah, I really had to like put the blinkers on.
And the Australian, being with the Australians as well, obviously. Yeah, some of the most amazing Australian athletes as well that you're hanging with.
100%. Whenever people ask me who did I get most excited about meeting, I always say the female Australian athletes, such as, you know, the Fox sisters. When they came in, I was like fangirling, because to me, like, they're just phenomenal. Yep. The swimmers were always around, and, you know, you've seen them on TV since you were little, like Emma McKeon. So all those females that were around us every single day, that was pretty cool.
And putting that aside and getting in the pool, and obviously during the pool games, some incredibly close outcomes with some shootouts, etc. How did you go about managing your emotions in the pool for those early games?
I think I had really honed in on that kind of stuff with my psych before we even got to the Olympics, even a year ago. I was like, if I'm going, which I didn't know, I need to be prepped in every way, physically and mentally possible. Those games were extremely stressful and the most high-pressure games I've ever played, because, like you said, we did end in so many penalty shootouts. For me, they're my bread and butter. I'm a shooter, so I love penalty shootouts. But in those situations, it was like do or die. So there was a lot more riding on it. I think leaning on my teammates is what I found the most helpful. And our coaching staff was so calm. like all the time. We had so many adversities leading into the Olympics and during, but they were unwavering. Like they were so cool, calm, collected. Beck would just like, I'd be freaking out in the pool and Beck would like just give me a thumbs up. I was like, okay, so I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like I'm not dying. But penalty shootouts, they took years off my life, I think.
Yeah, what was there, 5 in there? No, can't
we
remember.
had three out of 7.
3 out of 7, yeah, and then the USA as well.
USA's included in that. 3
out of 7. And then one was like a 15, 14 or something. Was it Netherlands?
Yeah, Netherlands went for 3 rounds.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Right. And then that thumbs up, which calmed you down, right? And then obviously a huge highs when you're winning, and then you got to go focus again, right? Yeah. And how did you cope with that?
I think for me personally, I would give myself, the time that I would see my family directly after the game to be really excited because they're excited too, and you have to kind of take every moment as it comes. You don't want to like tamper that down too soon because otherwise it's just all going to bubble away under the surface. So I'd celebrate the wins and as a team with my teammates, with the staff, with my family. And a lot of our games were evening games as well, like late afternoon, evening. So we'd take the rest of that day to kind of chill out and sit with it. And then by the time we wake up the next morning, we're focused on the next game.
Yep.
So for me, I also am really, I think a lot of us are highly critical of ourselves. So even though we were winning, I was still thinking about all the mistakes that I made. So for me to get through that, I would journal. When I got home, I would review the game immediately as soon as I got on the bus, because otherwise it just goes on a loop in my head, the same mistakes that I made, and maybe they weren't all to do with me. And I need to objectively see that so that I don't get too down on myself. So I'd watch the game, write down 3 things that I did well, because they're the hardest things to always pick out for yourself, and then refocus for the next game.
So your journal, 3 things you did well.
Yeah.
Not 3 things you could work on?
No, because I already know. Like from the minute that the first whistle goes, I'm always being critical of myself. I'm not in the game thinking, like I'm pretty fucking good. I'm thinking, no, I made that mistake. I let that person down. Am I saying the right thing? You're just overthinking everything and being really, really critical of yourself. And that's what we have to do as athletes, because how are you going to get better if you don't? So the hardest thing for me is to be positive of myself, like just individually. Of my team, it's easy because I can just see the best in those amazing people. But for me, it's just I'm type A. I've always been this way. I'm very neurotic. So the 3 things I do well really help me.
I was going to say, from the earlier sport that you played, not at the highest level there at the Olympics, did you ever go the other way where you did beat yourself up too much and it just became really hard for you to then refocus on something, like something went wrong, or like an event or a trigger point where it was like it crushed you? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's where I really lent on my parents, because they're the opposite. They're like, and you just breathing, like proud of you, So for me, it was when I was being super down on myself, which is basically all the time. I think as I've gotten older, it's become more manageable. But my mum would always say, you're being too hard on yourself. You're being too hard on yourself. And I think at the time it irritated me because I was like, what do you know? You're just my mum, blah, blah, blah. But as I've gotten older, that's kind of a trigger for me to take a step back and objectively look at it, like watching the game. But yeah, when I was growing up, if I missed a shot, I was like, super down on myself, low self-confidence, didn't really, just any teenage girl, like didn't really want to do it because I wasn't good enough. But yeah, I think I've just always had a supportive family, which I'm lucky to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the phrase that I've used as I've got a little bit older has been like, you're not on the operating table. Someone says that to me and you're like, yes, you're not on the, as in you're not being operated on for your life, right? So there's a good phrase where if everything feels like it's pretty shit, you go, you're not on the operating table. It could be worse, right?
That's so funny that you say that.
And then every now and then we hear this chopper that goes into the hospital.
Yeah,
where we
true.
Live, and I'm like, someone's having an awful day. That chopper going to the hospital.
That's true.
And it's good perspective that you need all the time to bring yourself back up. But as a very amateur sports person, I used to get down on myself quite a bit, and it used to affect my game. And so I find as a professional, talking to professional athletes, how they recover from a missed shot and how quickly they recover, or a drop catch in cricket, where everyone goes, oh, and then your heart rate probably goes up, and you're like, what have I done? But then, from my understanding, is that the second that you can pick yourself up and go again and keep going in the game, as opposed to thinking about it, that's probably something which you've probably worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. We do that a lot, especially with the new psych that we've been working with for the past 18 months. She's phenomenal, and she always kind of instills in us that if you have to come back to the present. If you're thinking about a mistake, you're in the past. If you're thinking about the outcome of the game, you're in the future. So we really have to stay in each moment and just save up all of that self-criticism for later when you have the time to think about it. But if you're thinking about it in a game, then you're not present and you're not doing what's best for you in that moment.
In some of those close games where you were behind, did any negative thoughts come in?
Yeah, definitely. But the way that I worked through them was that I'm not alone in this. There's 13 of us. So I had 12 other athletes that I could lean on in that moment, even if I had a bad game or a bad moment. For me personally, the semi-final was the hardest because I got fouled out of the game when usually I play the entire thing and I take the penalties. So it was a bit of like a Jesus take the wheel. I didn't have any control. So I really had to focus. I took a moment. Once I got my third foul, I'm sitting in the box and I was like, this sucks. I really want to be here for my team. But I knew that there were other ways to be there for them, like taking them the drink bottles, being super positive when people came on the bench, because when you come on the bench, you're exhausted and you're about to go on again. And all you need to hear sometimes is just forget about that shot. It was the right option. Do it again. That kind of stuff. So I really had to think about how I was impacting my team, how my attitude would impact my team, and what was best for them.
The belief that the girls had on being down 5-2 at half time, taking every moment as it stands, and then the euphoria when Gabby saved that goal. Do you want to describe that moment?
I cried. I can't even articulate it. I was sitting on the bench. I had to hold my teammate's hand, who was also my roommate. We're very close. And every single shot, every single save that was happening, it was a roller coaster, and it's exhausting. And it's honestly easier being in the pool. From someone that's been on both ends of it now, shooting, fine, because I've got control. It's my shot. When you're sitting there watching them, you're like, oh my God, there's nothing I can do to help you. It's you. And when Gabby saved it, I threw my cap on the ground. I screamed. And for me, it wasn't even we've just won a semi-final. It was we've beaten America. No one had done that in so many years. They had been undefeated at Olympics for 3 cycles or something. It was ridiculous. It was only when I went to see my family in the crowd that my dad said, you're an Olympic medalist. And then I just lost it all over again. But in that moment, it was just, I got goosebumps now thinking about it. It's pride, because we've been through the ringer as a team. It has not been easy getting to the Olympics and then getting to a semi-final. So it was so overwhelming.
Yeah, and the trial game, the game before America was 14-6 or something that you guys played them only a few months before, I think it was.
Oh, we got smashed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this team has had this aura and domination, and to knock them off. Yeah. And then the euphoria of you're a medalist. Yeah. But then you're going, this is our game. The next one's our game. Yeah. Would have been tough. The other two mentioned how bittersweet it was losing the gold medal match. In regards to their description, how do you describe it?
It's a very difficult game for me to talk about because I still haven't really connected with my medal yet. That was so disappointing. I can't really put it into words or describe it because, like you said, you're coming off the back of winning a semi-final against the number 1 seeded team for the past 12 years. And so that kind of felt like the real final, But then you go into the next game, and we hadn't played Spain in that whole year. One of our girls had never played Spain ever. So we knew them based off of playing them against our club teams, but as a team itself, we didn't know them as well. So I think for me, that game, what I really remember is the disappointment at the end of it, but also having to stand in between the gold medal winning team and the bronze medal winning team in the call room. And you're somewhere in between where, you've done better than bronze, but they've just won. We lost to get silver. So, it's taken me a long time, and it probably will take years for me to really understand the gravity of what we did. And I try not to lump it all together. Like, I try to think of the first 6 games, everything, as an amazing experience, but it is really challenging when you go to win a gold medal and you literally fall just short.
The pause and reflect in your career, do you do that often about like, okay, let's pause, let's reflect, let's celebrate what we've done, let's move on?
I'm pretty bad at that. I think there's always something for me that's next, like what's next. And it is hard to even like win, lose, draw. It's hard to just stop and be like, oh, that was cool, or that was, it's easy with the disappointing things because you have to move through that. Otherwise it'll affect your next game. But the positive things, they're not going to affect my next game. So I kind of just push them to the side. And I've spoken to this before when people talk to me about, being named as highest goal scorer or MVP and stuff. And I think when I retire or later down the track, that's when I'll really think about it and sit with it. But for now, it doesn't hold too much weight.
The question which you've just asked me to ask you is, what's next?
I take it year by year. So I haven't retired or anything. I am looking to be an LA 28. But for me, it's really about staying happy and healthy. If my body is fine and it's happy to keep going, then I will too. And obviously mentally, if I'm still in the game, and that's not just about me, but as a teammate, because that is like a ripple effect in a team. If one person is kind of tapped out and not buying into the team, then it can become quite toxic. So I'm always hyper aware of that and wanting to make sure that I'm the best teammate I can be, as well as the best player.
Where do you think your competitiveness, I'm going to call you confident. You seem like a very confident person. Where does this come from?
My dad's very competitive, so I think inherently I was going to be competitive. And then the confidence, my mum was always very, not to blow smoke up my ass, but like very body positive, very much like, it doesn't matter what other people think, like your people are your people and the others don't, shouldn't have that much of an effect on you. So I think when I was younger, it was tough because, teenage girls, they go through it. With, periods and puberty and hormones just flying off the handle. So when I was young, I wasn't this way for sure. I was definitely not very confident. But then as I've gotten older, I've been seeing a psych for a long time now, and she really helped me to kind of come into myself and accept myself. And water polo as well. I'm empowered every day by the women that are around me. My teammates are, the best people I've ever met. They're so hardworking and driven and kind and compassionate that I feed off of that as well.
Water polo to me sounds incredibly physical as well as incredibly mental, like a lot of sports, but more so water polo feels like, I think you put on some Instagram, maybe like your scratches or something, and it's like, how do you work on both parts, and how do you even up physical and mental?
I think mental is the hardest part. For sure, because it takes a lot of reflection and a lot of vulnerability, because for me, like I said, I'm type A and I'm a perfectionist. So, it's really difficult to deal with something when I feel like I'm not being perfect. So that for me was the hardest part. The physicality, that's like, that's mental too, because you have to be determined enough and driven enough to want to be the best. But at the same time, you have to put a lot of trust in your coaches that they're training you in the way that's going to have the best outcome for yourself and the team. And so I think the physicality part for me, it's not easy, but it's something that I can really just dig my heels into. It's tangible. I can see when I'm getting better. Mentally, I'm never going to be amazing with that. It's always a journey to be better.
Being a perfectionist in your head and obviously wanting to improve all the time, you get a phone call to say that you're in the Olympics. What are you feeling then? Is it like jubilation that you've been picked in this squad, or the world champs, or whatever it might be before? Or is it like, Yes, but let's go.
The thing is, when I got the phone call about making the Olympic team, I obviously cried, called my parents. It was crazy. Like, it was relief, I think, because I'd been working so hard towards this for so long. Like, I got cut right before Tokyo, so that was devastating. But then I felt more nervous. It was because the nerves were different. The nerves were like, am I even going to make this team? And then it was, I've made it and now I'm representing everyone. Now I'm representing my family, my friends, you sitting at home. Every single person is now on my shoulders. So it was a different kind of nerves. It was more pressure, I would say. But at the same time, I was like, fuck yeah, finally. Like, I've done it.
And the support crew, you mentioned your mum said it's your crew, no one else. Like, how invested were they with you and how much do they mean to you?
Oh, they're so invested, like, to the point where I couldn't always talk to them about stuff because sometimes they would feel it more than me. But they were elated. They all cried. They were like, oh my gosh. Like, I think my dad played it cool. He was like, yeah, I knew that you were going to make it. But I think he like went into a room and cried on his own. But mum, was bawling her eyes out. My sisters, like my best friends, also flew across to Paris to watch me play as well. And I couldn't have done it without them, truly. Like, it takes a village to get anyone anywhere. And my village is the reason why I was standing on a podium in Paris.
That phone call, was it a phone call, by the
Yep.
way? When it rang, you knew who it was?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I let it ring for a couple times.
Oh, right, because you saw it and went just to double check.
Well, you know what time.
Was it a private number or was it your coach? Or...
No, it was our high performance manager.
Mm-hmm.
And you're given a time, so they will call you in that time. And I saw it ringing, which I had seen before in Tokyo, and I'd known the feeling of it not going my way. So I was looking at it and I was really nervous, but I was like, you know what, you've made it through it one time. If it doesn't go your way, like, you will be okay again. And I'm just so glad that it went my way this time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And not on the operating table if you didn't make it as well. But in terms of like preparation and giving it your best, knowing that you put in your best, when you prepare for something, like, and then things don't go your way, and we've talked about this before, picking yourself up, but then you when it comes to sport, you have wins and losses, and you either learn or you win. Do you kind of learn from your winnings as well?
Oh, absolutely. In every game, we have mistakes, like hundreds of them, truly. So, you know, we're never going to be perfect, and we've accepted that because no one is. And so we pick apart every single game. Win, loss, or draw, we're picking it apart. And that's why I believe we're one of the best teams in the world, because we reflect on everything. And we do it in a way that is compassionate of ourselves and our team. We're not going in there to point fingers and blame people. We're there to if you make an individual mistake, it's everyone's mistake. That's how it's viewed. So, yeah, I think there's always learnings to take from things.
And then the dream as a little girl, did you always want to play in the Olympics?
No, I don't know when it started. Like, I've really tried to think back and pinpoint it, but probably when I was in like my teens and I maybe watched the 2012 Olympics with London, because I was playing at that point like for enough years. I think I was 14 or 13 in that year that I could understand it. And I was in the sport as well at that point. So that was pretty cool too. But no, when I was growing up, I was just loving playing sport, and I did netball and swimming, and then I started water polo, and I didn't realize I was very good at water polo until like a bit down the line.
So what was your favourite sport?
Oh, definitely water polo when I started it. Netball before that. Swimming was just boring to me. Like, I love a gas bag. I love to chat to my teammates, and swimming was just pretty antisocial. But netball, team sport, like, I always knew that I loved a team sport because my best friends were on the team and my mum was the coach at the time because we were little, and it was always so much fun.
Were you good at it?
Netball, mid-range, I would say. I wasn't in like the C's, but I was in the A's like a couple times, B's a few times. But I think land just isn't like my
you want in the water, right?
Yeah, I think water's best for me. Like, I'm just a bit unco on land, and I reckon I'd do a ligament or something. Like, I'm really
like an ACL or a knee or something.
I'm just actually quite shocking.
When did you discover or realise that you were good at water polo?
I think when I was in school, I had a coach, I think when I was 14, and she kind of was like, you're like pretty good. Like you could be really good if you tried harder. So it was kind of a switch for me.
Did you
I was
try
like,
hard? Or
Yeah.
did you sort of go, oh,
No,
yeah,
no,
I
no.
know.
I was like, oh, okay. Like light bulb moment. Because like I was fine at school. Like I wasn't like a straight A student, but I was pretty good. But like I think hearing that I could actually be really good at something, I was like, I want to try that. Like that sounds like something I would do. So, yeah, that's probably. And then when I made my first junior Australian team and I was in the mix for that, I wasn't the best. I was probably mid to lower range of that group. And then I saw all these women that were like girls that were playing all across Australia. And I was like, I want to be as good as everyone in my age group. So I think they were always just little stepping stones that I was trying to hit, because I am a competitive person. I always want to be the best.
So short-termish goals, not a long-term goal.
Yeah, short term, I would say.
And then when you saw those people and you're like, actually, I want to be equally as good as them, if not better than them, what do you think makes or has made you equally, if not better than some of these people?
I'm a very hard worker. I would, and so is Gabby Palm. We're the same age. We would, after every session together, stay in the pool for an extra 30 to 45 minutes just shooting. And well, I'm at me shooting at her.
At her, yeah.
Yeah, she's a goalkeeper. Until I got a shot right. And that would be, and no one else did that I ever saw. So very, very hard workers. Because like I said, I don't think I was naturally born to play water polo, but I think I put my head down, my bum up, and whenever I got feedback, write it down, work on it. And once I get good at that, I would say, okay, what next? Like I would never just let it rest, and I still don't. If I ever do, that's the day that I stop playing, I think, because it's the challenge as well.
Those positive notes that you write, you said you write 3 of them.
Yeah.
Is that right? Have you kept them?
Yep.
And do you go back and look at them and say, actually, this is starting to be a bit of a pattern or anything like that? Or do you kind of just put it in a scrapbook? Or...
No, I think they're all in a journal. I started doing this when I went to Italy to play a few years ago because I found myself being really tough on myself then. And I still have them all, and there are trends in them. I don't go too far back. I'll look maybe a game or two prior. But to be honest, like they're really different because it depends on who we play as well. Like sometimes you don't need my position as hectically as you need a centre forward's position in a game. So people are going to be needed at different games and in different points of games. So sometimes I need to focus more on defence than attack. But like I said, I am a finisher. I'm a goal scorer. So sometimes there are games that I need to be really critical of myself if I'm not putting them away.
And then obviously with you and Gabby having a bit of sparring match, who got the better of each other, do you reckon, at the training sessions?
Oof, Gabby. Because I'm shooting like 100 times at her and different shots all the time. But Gabby's phenomenal. Like I think that she's one of the reasons why I'm one of the best shooters is because she always challenged me. And, you know, like she gives me tips too because she sees people shoot all the time. And if I shoot a funny shot and I'm being really critical of myself, she was like, you just flicked your wrist funny in that one. Like I've seen you shoot 1,000,000 times. That one.
So she knew you intimately to give you those little minor tips, even though she's probably, you know, she sees it from a goalkeeper's point of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll ask her as well. I was like, why did I miss that shot? And she's like, you pitched it wrong. Or you could have done this shot. I was like this. So we really learnt off each other. And we always challenged each other. Like it wasn't, and it was competitive. It's not like we're going in there and just like, you know, having a great old time and laughing about it. Like it was serious. It was competitive. She would want specific shots from me as well. And I would give her feedback, like you're too far this way or that way. You're too heavy on your hands, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we've really helped each other over the years to become some of the best players in the world.
Let's talk about water polo for a second. After the Olympic Games, again, the elevation of particularly women's water polo, placed the silver medal, a tremendous effort by the Stingers, coming to the youth water polo and encouraging girls and boys to go into the pool and give it a play. How much of an advocate now are you as the Stingers, a brand, to kind of keep this awareness going and actually inspire the next generation?
Yeah, like that's always something that we've been trying to do. Even before the Olympics, we've always wanted to leave a legacy that people want to be a part of. So for us, it is really important that we do inspire people. And for me, I'm a huge advocate for the young girls because we do know that there's a huge drop off when the girls hit puberty. They don't want to play water polo anymore because it's uncomfortable and things happen and tampons and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm very much trying to raise awareness and talk to girls about the way that things can be handled, because when we were growing up, we didn't have that. It was a figure it out on your own kind of thing. So yeah, very, very much so advocating for the young people in Australia to jump in and play. And I think it sometimes is just a lack of equipment and availability. Like not everyone has goals that you can just go and shoot at. But when there are goals that are just randomly set up, you see people, like even at a beach, when you put them in the water, people just flock to it. They're like, what's this? This looks fun. And they'll just start playing. And like,
yeah, my kids have an improvised goal at home. They start playing water polo. They love it with the neighbours. The young girls play it and the boys, and it's fabulous to watch.
Yeah, as
a sport. Obviously, in terms of career, it's a bit difficult. You might have to go overseas to become a professional.
Yes.
Do you envisage that changing, hopefully, in the future?
It is tough because it is such a private school sport in Australia. But over there, like, it's one of like some of the national sports, so it's just different. I would love for it to be professional in Australia. That means I can stay with my family all the time and we can, have more reach with the community. But it is really challenging because it's quite expensive.
No, for sure. And so more sponsors, and I think there are definitely more sponsors, and hopefully from this campaign and other campaigns coming through, not just the Olympics, but also all the other events coming through. I'm going to touch on you for a second in terms of some of your personality traits. So you said you get a little bit nervous. Have you been dealing with that, and now you're confident going into a game, or you still get really nervous?
Oh, I'm always nervous. If I'm not nervous, I'd be dead. I think it's just I care so much. Like I put so much time and energy into myself and to the team, and so does everyone else. So you also don't want to let people down, and you just want to put your best foot forward all the time. So I'll always be nervous before a game.
Superstitious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on.
There's so many. Like I've actually had to work through letting go of some. So before a game, this is disgusting. I can't eat much because I'm so nervous. So right before I get in the pool for warm up, I'll eat a banana with water and a Coca-Cola. And it's just a heinous concoction, but I need the carbs and like the carbs.
So in that order?
Yeah.
Right.
In that order.
Eat a banana. Have a big drink of water? Small?
I'll just like to get it down. I'll drink water.
Any water? Like as in terms of like any amount of water?
Yes, yeah, any amount.
And then any amount of Coke?
It depends what is available in whatever country that we're in.
You don't do Pepsi?
Absolutely not. No, I don't even, yuck. I would get, if there's just a normal can, I'll get the can. But there's a little tiny cans that you can get. I think they're like 120 mils.
Oh, yeah.
I get as much in as I can. I usually can't have the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So it's about half of it.
Yep.
And then I just chuck it out. But yeah, that's just one of them. That's before every single game. I listen to the exact same songs in order every single game.
What's the first one?
Not secret. I can't let you know. Otherwise, everyone will be listening to it.
So you haven't put it on Spotify as a playlist?
Yeah, I have.
You have?
Yeah, but good luck finding me on Spotify. Yeah, so many.
And then so that you get through all the songs? You don't get, not if someone sort of makes a phone call in the middle of it.
My phone is not on for calls.
Not makes a phone call. I mean, like, say, talks to you. You're like, let's need to listen to
my teammates know that I don't like to talk before a game.
Okay, another thing, potentially. Yeah.
I don't sit with the group. I sit just outside of the group because energy is a big thing for me. If people are really high energy and I can't, I feed off of that and it makes me tired. So I have to be on my own with my AirPods on noise cancelling and no one talks to me. Another thing, I have to walk the same way. In like the Olympic Village, I had to walk the same way from our rooms to the bus every single time. Whereas my teammates would kind of like,
That'd have been a new thing with Paris, right? That's a new superstition.
Yeah, well, we were winning. Like we were winning every single game. So I was like, well, obviously can't change anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
So, but like for the semi-final, they all went a different way, all of them. And I was like, no, that's going to freak me out. So I had to go the normal way, my normal way. There's just an endless list of them, but they work for me.
What about when you go into the game, jump in the pool? Are you pumped up? Are you like super hyped? or are you just calm?
Not calm. I
Or
would
somewhere in
say
between?
I'm not like externally like agitated or anything. Internally, I'm like swearing, like let's fucking
Yeah.
go, like let's do this. This is
So there
my
might be
game.
some pump up music in your playlist.
At the start, no, it's very calm because if I hear that, I'll get too overwhelmed. But my last song that I listen to, and I do the exact same movements in my warm up when I'm listening to this song, that's pump up. It's like EDM. It's good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And when do you develop those kind of structures, superstitions? Just all
They've come
through
over
your
time.
Yeah.
A lot of it was when I played in Italy, I think, because that was my first professional season, and that was when I was like, okay, I'm being paid to play well, so I really need to lock in. And then from there, like, we won the championship. We came third in Europe. Like, we did really well when I was playing there. So I was like, obviously something's working for myself and the team. So I'm just going to try and like put that into all of my national team stuff.
Mm. Moving forward into your life, have you got a goal or a longer term goal or something that you want to be post water polo? Do you want to stay in the game? Do you love the game so much? Do you want to coach?
No,
I'm just throwing lots of
that's
things
not
out.
me. I think I would go nuts if I was a coach. I'd just dive in the water and want to do it myself. I
You get
don't.
ejected as a coach, wouldn't you, for doing that?
Oh,
wouldn't you?
100%. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't think I'd be the best coach. I think I'd get really invested, and I love coaching the girls when I'm not their actual coach, like when I'm going and doing like specialist sessions, but it's really stressful. I don't get how like Beck does it, like at the Olympics. Like I have no idea how she stays so calm. I haven't really got, like, I'm studying, so I'm doing biomedical science, and I started that because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I finished school. But my dad's a doctor and my mum is a nurse, so it's always been really interesting to me, and I'm quite good at it. I like it. I like learning about it. So I think being a doctor was always kind of on the table for me. I just like don't know if that's really it for me, or I think because I've been so focused on water polo, that's always been on the back burner, and I still haven't graduated from my first degree, so I need to do that first.
The biomedical science degree.
Yeah.
Do you sort of relate a little bit to your high performance world with the studies? Like, that makes sense.
I do find it really helpful knowing that kind of stuff, especially when I'm away. Like, we travel with a doctor, which is great, and I love asking him questions, but we do have a lot of stuff like go on, like with our bodies, like you're putting them on the line all the time. So you're going to get injured, you're going to get sick and stuff. And I think understanding what's actually going on can help me. So I think it definitely like comes into play.
Like, when I sometimes eat food, I'm like, this is really good. I wonder if it's healthy or not. Most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
It tastes really good.
Mm.
But like this, just through every day, you're like, is this good? Is this bad? I suppose you work it out a little bit in your head.
Yeah.
But then obviously movement and things like is running better than walking and all this sort of stuff. There's lots of different things. How do you keep yourself fit? What do you do? What's your structure?
Well, when I'm training, it's just the training that we usually do. So it'd be like swimming and gym and water polo. But now that I've been in an off period. I needed a long break after the Olympics, and I love Pilates. I think that's really good for just general health. It's good for your bone density. It's good for
core strength.
Yep. Core strength, and it gets your little muscles. So my back will get sore because gym is just, I'm not built for land. So gym to me is just a bit outlandish, and I'm never going to be great at it. But you use all your big muscles in that, and that can really tighten you up. Whereas Pilates uses your little stability muscles that helps you to like stay balanced, and it targets more so like the muscles that we never use. And that helps my back stay relaxed and not tighten up as hectically. So yeah, I love that. I've actually just recently joined a swim squad because I needed the degree of removal from water polo, but still wanting to stay fit enough that I can go back when I'm needed. And I love it. Like, it's so weird because when I was younger, I'd complain about going to swimming training. It was so boring.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
But now it's different. Like, I'm with a different coach, and I think it's just nice because it's not what I'm used to. Like, when we're in full training, you're with the same people for like hours every single day of the year. And that's like 4 years is a cycle, So for me, this is just a welcomed break from all of that. And it's a different voice, and it's a different way of training. Like, it's so much to do with like our heart rate and stuff, which is strange to me because we're used to going like pedal to the metal like constantly. Whereas this is like, no, we have to push and pull, and we're playing with different systems in my body, like aerobic, threshold, all that kind of stuff.
And on the reformer in Pilates, you get on the reformer?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, there's a couple of moves I remember that I hated in Pilates. It was just too hard. But anyway, I can't remember.
They're all hard. I'm not even kidding. I've been doing it for years.
They're all different names, aren't they? Like threading the needle and
that sounds like yoga. But if you did reformer Pilates, you'd probably die.
The downtime that you're having right now, what's floats your boat in regards to something that makes you happy that's not water polo related?
Pilates really does make me happy.
So you look forward to the classes?
Always, yeah. Which is
a couple of times a week?
Yeah, 4 times a week I go. It's just like your phone's off, you're in the zone. It's really about breath work as well. So it triggers your vagus nerve, which calms you down. But I also love going to the movies on my own. Because similarly, you're not on your phone.
On my own a few times. It's not I don't mind.
Dark room.
What about table for one at a restaurant?
Not there yet. That makes me a little bit anxious.
I've done that a couple of times.
But without your phone?
Oh, no. I mean, your phone's with you because you pay through your phone. I don't really carry the wallet too.
But like, are you on your phone when you're alone?
A little bit. I'd say like later on at night. There was a time in Melbourne maybe like 2 or 3 months ago that I struck up some conversation pretty quickly with the couple next to me.
Right.
And we became friendly.
Yeah.
And they asked me why I was on my own, and I was traveling for business, but I had a concert to go to. Again, I went to a concert by myself.
Right.
And it was fine. But I didn't sit there looking at my phone. I suppose I scrolled to see what time it was and maybe check some NBA scores or something. I wasn't really kind of doing work or anything.
Yeah, I have been to dinner on my own a few times when I'm traveling. But I'll always set up like a water polo game to watch or a sporting game to watch. But for me, I think with Pilates, with the movies, I'm not on my phone. Like I'm really disconnected and I'm on my own and I'm doing my own thing.
Do you reckon you're hooked a little bit sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely got an addiction to my phone. That's why I really actively try to take time away from it. Because like for me personally and my teammates, that's why we get our sponsorships and paid is if you do content and that kind of stuff. So it actually is kind of work being on your phone, which I think is toxic in itself because like you just become a consumer and you're just doom scrolling all the time. But I actually would like to work into getting to a meal on my own in Brisbane because I think I'm also like, I know people here, like they can see me and, I'm sitting on my own.
It'd be interesting to know how many if you go to a restaurant and ask them and you're like, how many people come in and sit by themselves? I reckon it'd be higher than you think.
Yeah, probably.
Because people travel and people want to like have heard of this restaurant and they're like, a good food and you're like, well, you're here for one night or you're here for whatever. And I suppose in your hometown's a bit different.
Yeah.
Because you kind of may want to go out with friends and stuff, but I don't have a problem with meal for one.
Yeah. What do you do when you're sitting though? Like, do you just like look around and like
people
obviously
watch.
Okay.
There's some good people watching spaces in Brisbane.
Oh, yeah, James Street. Love it.
Yeah, Crew Bar.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of like if I did go somewhere, I would sit at the bar at Crew Bar.
Yeah.
Because like that's like easy. You can like just
I'd
sit
tell
there.
you, it's a really good place in Sydney as well is Bondi.
Okay.
Like there's a little bar in the corner, I can't remember its name, but you can sit in the corner and like the eclecticism, is that a word, of Bondi?
We'll make it,
It's just like, woof.
Yeah, right.
From like athletes to, people
tourists.
that are tourists to people that backpackers to suits and all this. People watching. I love people watching.
Yeah,
who doesn't love people watching?
Sometimes, do you know the Carlisle Hotel on James
Street?
Oh,
like the Hellenica.
The lobby bar.
Oh, the lobby bar.
You're on ground floor and me and my best friend sometimes after Pilates will go there and just have a coffee or whatever and we will just look.
Do you sit outside?
Yeah. Like put sunglasses on, but we're like, okay, this is perfect positioning.
Yeah, again, good people watching the Carlisle.
And the cars as well. You see some of the cars that come through there, you're like, whoa, where do you live in Brisbane? Because I never see you around.
Well, they morphed to James Street.
Yeah.
Hellenica's quite good for watching people take selfies.
Yeah.
And Instagramming.
Yeah,
obviously
around
by the pool, right?
Mm.
There's not too many restaurants in Brisbane that have a pool where you can have a table by the pool. But, we've digressed a little bit, haven't we?
We have, but...
Oh, yeah, dinner for one. That's what we were talking about, wasn't it? Yeah. And then my question was around, the movies for one. I went to the movies yesterday. Believe it or not, I haven't been to the movies for quite some time. I saw Wicked with my kids. It went for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
It was long, yeah.
What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. I'm not usually a huge musical.
Did you go to that one by yourself?
No, I went with my family.
Hmm.
With my whole family. Oh no, I went on my own. I saw Gladiator 2 with my family.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it was long. I had
Yeah.
to brace myself for Wicked.
Did you, I didn't know I was going to go for 2 hours 40 until my 9-year-old son said, Dad, it's been an hour and a half. How long has it got to go?
Oh.
And I got my phone out and it said 2 hours 40. And I'm like, it's got a little bit longer to go, you know?
Yeah.
How long?
I had to
just a
mentally
little bit
prep.
longer. But I feel like if I didn't know that, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But now knowing that it went for 2 hours 40, even though it was, I really enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it, except
good.
my 9-year-old son was a bit, so it went for a bit too long. You kind of, he kind of does for a 9-year-old. But
that
maybe
checks
it's not
out,
target market.
Sitting still for a 9-year-old for 2.5 hours would be challenging.
Yeah. And then towards the end, it was sort of like, there's a part 2 now.
Yeah.
So you're like, it kind of didn't end. And it was good, but you're going to go, we better watch the part 2. So
the fact that they're singing, that's not recorded, that's them singing, actually in the scene.
Yep.
I was like, how do you do that? That is incredible.
Now, I don't know the storyline. Do people know what happens in part 2? Is it a known thing?
No.
So
I have no idea.
Prince, who's the prince choosing? You know?
Well, no idea.
No idea. Yeah.
But you'd think it would be Elphaba, wouldn't you?
You'd think.
But then I reckon they'll plot twist it and he'll be gay or something, I have no idea. He actually is gay in real life, that actor as well.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know any of I should probably know the actors and actresses, but they were amazing, but I didn't know.
They were great, yeah. But it was really good. I think the way that they did it, and I think it was important. A lot of people cried in it. I didn't cry, but I am partial to a good tear in a movie, so it was strange for me.
Yeah, or maybe when you cried when the animals got taken away. Was it the...
See, I actually went to the bathroom in that scene.
Oh.
So I came back and they were all gone and whatever. And I was like, but I think the people cried.
I suppose it's 2 hours 40. You got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I know. And I was eating so much popcorn that I had to drink water. So I obviously had to go at some point. But I think the part that people cried, and spoiler alert, is when Elphaba is being bullied. Everyone's that's so mean.
Yeah.
Leave her alone.
Oh, maybe you cried when the dance scene as well, when they danced together.
That's when the hat.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was a bit of the hands together.
Yeah.
And any other favourite movies at the moment? Are you a Netflixer as well? Do you kind of binge watch some shows in your downtime?
Yeah, at the moment I'm Modern Family. I love
Very
it.
funny.
It's just also 20 minutes. So you don't have to, it's not a long-term commitment. You can just put it on quickly while you're making dinner.
I haven't done it for a few years. I used to do it all the time.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so witty.
What about Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Haven't heard of that.
Oh, it's the old Larry David from Seinfeld. It's not Seinfeld. It's different to Seinfeld, but that's a good one.
Yeah, okay. I'll think about it.
What about dramas?
Oh, I love a period drama. I love Pride and Prejudice BBC miniseries.
Yep.
Love it. That would be something that
Park and The Crown and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, The Crown definitely. But that's a comfort watch for me, Pride and Prejudice, when I'm on tour. Because I've seen it so many times that I can just put it on. And
you're a subtitles person? Do you get into the subtitles now?
Mm.
When did that happen? It still seems a bit of a trend now. Everyone's watching subtitles on their phone
and
on their TV.
It started when my teammates and I would watch shows together, so 8 years ago. And everyone just chats the whole time through, so you have to put them on, otherwise you can't actually hear.
My favourite part about subtitles is when it says ominous music.
Yeah.
And you're like, something's about to happen here.
Or a gasp.
And you're like, they haven't gasped yet.
Great.
They said gasp.
Great, okay, gotcha.
Footsteps approaching.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've gone down different topics here, but I'm going to leave it there. But thank you so much for coming in, having a chat.
Thank you for having me.
And very much appreciate giving a bit of a glimpse into your life. Into the life of water polo and also outside of water polo and some things you get up to. And congratulations on the Olympics and everything. And I know that you were mildly unhappy that you didn't get the gold medal, but congratulations and looking forward to the next campaign.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great.